All right. Thank you, Seth. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our joined Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon project funding meeting. And my name is Eric Edgley, and I'm the section chief of the Habitat section and the chair of the division's Habitat Council. Sitting here with, go ahead and introduce yourself, Trina.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Trina Hedrick. I'm the Coldwater Sport Fish coordinator and AIS coordinator for the division, and I also, I guess I'm the division representative on the Blue Ribbon Council. So welcome to all our Blue Ribbon folks, and thanks to our project biologists who were able to make it to present your projects. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks, Trina. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through introductions of anybody who is on the Habitat Council or on the Blue Ribbon Council, and let's start over here with Drew and just work our way around.
I'm Drew Cushing. I'm the aquatic section chief for the Division of Wildlife.
Angie Wanacott representing Upland.
Austin Atkinson representing Big Game.
Jeremiah Cornea representing Waterfowl.
Jim Bradley, member of the board.
Jane Guys, Blue Ribbon Council.
If you can remember to turn your microphones on as you go around, and we'll talk about that too in a second here.
Jane Guys, Blue Ribbon Council.
Mickey Anderson, Blue Ribbon, commercial rep.
Dan Hill, Blue Ribbon, Northeastern rep.
Russ Lawrence, Blue Ribbon, Warm Water rep.
Ryan Newman, Warm Water rep, Blue Ribbon.
Dean Kreger, Blue Ribbon, Northern Region.
All right, thank you very much. So, yeah, I probably should have mentioned this first. So, logistics-wise, this meeting is being streamed over YouTube, and in order to capture our audio good, you've got microphones there, and so just make sure when you're gonna or have a question or gonna speak, just click that mic on and then click it back off when you're done. That would be great. And so, and also that helps people who maybe can't hear as well, sometimes like me, but it comes over the speakers, and so that helps us all out there too. The way this meeting typically works every year is the first half of the meeting is joined together, Blue Ribbon and Habitat Council, and we hear projects together that we're both looking to fund or looking to approve for funding. In the afternoon, we split the councils up. This year, Habitat Council will go back upstairs to room 2000. Blue Ribbon will stay here, and then you will do any sort of voting or project approval with your council for the morning's projects as well as your afternoon projects during that time. Let's see. Anything else? What did I miss, Trina?
Well, you didn't miss it, but for Blue Ribbon Council, you do have access, hopefully, to the score sheets, and we can talk about projects this afternoon and talk about whether or not we want to review, actually go through them and review them individually. But your score sheets will be due to me April 3rd, please.
All right. Okay. Other logistics. So at any time you can get up, and there's drinks over here behind Austin and Jeremiah, and at the back of the room there's some food and some drinks back there. Feel free to jump in and grab anything that you want to eat. Restrooms are just down the hall to the east, across the breezeway, and a little ways down there to the right. All right. With that, Allison, what did I miss?
Whoever's presenting, make sure you're speaking in time.
Oh, right. Presenters, come up here to the microphone, make sure that it's turned on and you're speaking there, and introduce yourself as to who you are and which region or project you're representing. So with that, I guess lastly, I'll thank at least our staff that have helped with the logistics, Allison, Melissa, Daniel, and Lisa, who set all this stuff up, along with the AV team. We appreciate all their help today. Any questions before we jump in?
There was a request to turn on our view, the view of the room. I assume we're going to do that when we start presenting.
For the AV team, on the online meeting, are you turning on the cameras for the view of the room?
Yes, 1 second.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, all right, we're gonna jump in, and we're gonna start off with project number 6890, Lower Provo River Angler Access Improvements and Signage Phase 2. And this is from the Central Region.
Online as well? Is there anybody else? Just wondering.
Well, Rebecca? Okay, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me present this proposal again. My name is Mike Slater. I work as a project leader or a sport fish project leader in the Central Region out of our Springville office. This project itself is actually something that we presented a year or two ago, and for lots of different reasons. Part of it was taken care of, but the portion I'm going to talk to you about today was postponed. And so that's why I'm here again today. We're not doing a whole lot of habitat work on this portion of the project. It's more of the outreach, the access, here's what we have. Please come and enjoy the Lower Provo River. So that's why I've put phase 2 on it. Who's driving this? Who can I?
Allison's driving.
Allison? Okay, all right, just so I know who to go to on that. Under the images, there might be a few things that we can go to there that would help me. And then we'll go to the finance page here in a minute. What I want to present to here is on the Lower Provo River, historically we've had some access issues, if you will. And kind of anglers have gotten the impression that, oh, there's nowhere for me to access the Lower Provo River. First and foremost, I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. We've got a lot of places that we can fish on the Lower Provo River. But one of the things that when this had come up, we wanted to address it, and we wanted to provide some opportunities for anglers to get into the top portion of the Lower Provo River by boats, by fly crafts, by floating the river and being able to fish it that way, wherein the perception was, I can't walk into the river, I can't walk along the shorelines, which again is not accurate. But this was just an attempt to, here's another opportunity for you to get into the river. And so what we were going to do initially was going in and doing some habitat work, making it a little bit safer, a little bit easier for anglers to get to the river, to get their boats into the water. Then I started working with Deer Creek State Park, who had $1 million project, just getting underway in creating official boat ramps, steps, stairs, ways to get into the Lower Provo River for all kinds of recreationists, not just the fly anglers or the anglers that are wanting to float. Float tubing is incredibly popular on the Lower Provo River, lots of different things. So they were trying to address that. And that's what Allison has here. This is the finished project, and that's, again, why we've kind of separated these projects just a little bit. So it's all ready to go now. People are using it. People are floating the river, getting access to the river, fishing the river. And now what we would like to do is we would like to publicize this and allow the anglers, the recreationists to know, here's the do's and the don'ts. Please come in and enjoy it, but here's how we would like you to do it. And that's by providing or building a very large kiosk. If you go to the very bottom of those images, there, yeah, that right there. You might have to do it from the download. It'll download it and maybe bring it up. We're working with a company that's designing a very large kiosk. This isn't just a little T-post with a sign that says come and play here. This is much more, we're going to provide maps. We're going to provide hatching information. We're going to provide what kind of fishes can you catch and enjoy along the river. Some of the things that we want to encourage, the state parks wants to encourage with the use of life jackets. Again, just some general information to allow the public to know, wow, here's what I get to enjoy on the Lower Provo River. And so it's expensive. And that's why we've got various different partners involved with this. Utah Stream Access Coalition has provided $10,000. They did that on the initial project, and we've been able to carry that money over. So that's in our hands. And now what we're going to do is ask for some additional funds to, again, help us in covering the costs of this kiosk. If you'll, perfect, Allison. If you'll go to the finances page. So we're really happy with Utah Stream Access Coalition coming aboard and providing funds and help and support for this. And I should mention there's a whole lot of other partners. Deer Creek State Park, Bureau of Reclamation, metropolitan governments, Utah Stream Access Coalition, obviously Blue Ribbon, logos with the Division of WALA, everybody. We're going to be providing all of that kind of information as part of this kiosk. Again, all the information that we're going to be putting there. We're looking at approximately $30,000 total is what we're asking. So $10,000 from Blue Ribbon, $10,000 from Habitat Council, and then the $10,000 that we already have in our hands from Utah Stream Access Coalition. What this will entail or enable us to do is to purchase this kiosk out of California. We'll have a company that will actually come in, pour the cement pads, install it from start to finish. It's got a 20 to 30 year lifespan, the kind that I'm purchasing. This isn't, again, something that we want to throw up and let it deteriorate in a couple of years and then we have nothing. We anticipate this being kind of a hub and a place and something that can provide information for anglers and all recreationists for decades. We'll continue to monitor this and watch this. You know, how is it working? Are people utilizing it? Is there something that we need to change? Do we need to improve, add information, et cetera, et cetera? We'll be kind of following that and watching that. But the bottom line is, again, providing a very large informative kiosk in addition to the habitat and the changes and the things that have already been done on the earlier phases of this project. I didn't mention there's some outlets or pull-outs, some places where the anglers can go downstream so far and pull out. Utah County helped us in making some improvements at Vivian Park, it's called, to where the anglers and people can pull out a little bit safer than what they have in the past. Just to mention that, because we're not just throwing the anglers into the river and have fun. They've got to have a place to come out, and that's already been taken care of. But that kind of information, again, will be provided on this kiosk. Chris, others, have I missed anything on what we're trying to do here? Okay, it's a very short cost, and when we're talking $1 million that have been spent there already with parking lots and the boat ramps and all kinds of other things, this is just kind of coming in on the tail end. Okay, let's button it up and let's finish things here. So that's kind of what we're asking. Any questions?
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, questions for Mike?
I have just clarifying. So what's your timeline? Are you thinking that it'll just take a couple of months? You might be able to get everything installed in the fall, or are we looking at installation next spring?
It will be in September is what we're planning on. We're planning on money being available July 1st, roughly, and working with this company to come in a couple of months after that.
Okay.
I'm actually working with Jenny Erickson in our outreach department. She's helping us design this. Buck Euler is also helping us with the large map of the whole Provo River, places to go, where the holes are, where you can fish, where the access is better, not as good, et cetera, et cetera. So she's helping us with all of that.
Awesome. It'd be good. Thanks.
Other questions?
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Just a reminder, so for Habitat Council, all voting on these projects will occur in the afternoon. And then for Blue Ribbon, you have your ranking that you'll be working on either now and in the afternoon. So we're just going to move on to the next project. And the next one is Project 7820, Central Region Reservoir Habitat Enhancement, Phase 2.
Hi guys, my name is Tyler Robinson. I'm the sportfish biologist in the Central Region. Came to you guys with this project last year. This will be a multi-phase project, so you probably will see it, same thing, for the next couple years. But again, it's important because it is Jordanelle Reservoir, which is one of the most highly used reservoirs, or highly desired reservoirs, given our Blue Ribbon Economic Survey, ranked number 4 on that. And it's used by multi-anglers, so it's primarily a trout fishery, which has always been a trout fishery, but we've done a lot of management plans to change that and make it a multi-species fishery for tiger muskie. It's had smallmouth in it, has yellow perch. It has attracts a lot of different users, especially being that the whole thing is a state park as well. There's very good access throughout. So we've done a lot of these projects in other reservoirs, specifically in the northern region with Clint, but not so much here in the central region. And Jordanelle's kind of been our starting ground to get something like this happening. So like I said, this is phase 2. We had that map up earlier. It'll be in the bays directly across from the Hailstone boat ramps. Those are highly used by our bass anglers because they're one of the few bays that actually still holds trees for fish to hide in. But once that water recedes, it becomes a barren wasteland like most of our reservoirs. So these are all deep water structures that will be placed given permitting and approval with Central Utah, where we are allowed to do that. Typically it's about that 10-year water low average and 10 feet below that. So when that water recedes, especially in a year like this year coming up, these fish still have a place to live and hide and survive versus what they might see in some of these other bays. So these bays are highly used by our bass anglers. We actually sample that northern arm with our standardized streams or our standardized electrofishing sampling. So we will have good data coming in and out of that for the next few years for stream sampling. But there was a presentation there. If you want to go through that, I can squeeze through that pretty quick. Kind of talking about some of the fish information. But again, this is a project you guys will see for the future, so hopefully we continue to fund it because, again, Jordanelle is pretty important to the fisheries within the Wasatch Front, being within an hour of most of your public. It's an area for people to get out and learn fishing, not just excel at fishing, but a good opportunity for them to get out and experience the sport. So that is Jordanelle in a nutshell on a low water year by probably what we're looking at right now. I don't remember when this picture was taken, but this is the area we applied for a proposal last year, which you guys did fund as well. We still have not put any structures in there yet. We're still working on that permitting process, which has been signed, I think, 3 times at this point, and is hopefully going to be signed one more time once these last changes get approved. But this is what we're looking at on that. There's absolutely nothing but grass that grows and then gets flooded. So when that water recedes, we need something more than just grass for those fish to hang in. So you can go to the next slide. So again, why? I think I've already talked to that. Jordanelle is now an aged reservoir by classification. It's about 40 years old. That's when stuff goes downhill in these reservoirs we make. That's when all the woody debris gets deteriorated enough where it goes to the bottom and there's nothing left. So we're at that stage now where stuff's falling apart. On the scientific side of things, these are our smallmouth bass numbers. We used to get a lot of fish. We still get a lot of fish, but what the fish we don't get a lot of are the desired by anglers, the quality, memorable trophy size fish, which are in those green or yellow, orange, and red. They don't exist in the last time we sampled this. And we hear it from our anglers. So this is something we want to try to use to improve that fishing, improve size structure, and specifically increase forage available for those fish. Go to the next slide. Budget-wise, we're asking a little more than we did last year because doing kind of some more math, we need a lot of structures in this reservoir. It is very large. So we are up to 52,000 requested from Blue Ribbon Habitat Council jointly, 30,000 from Blue Ribbon, 22,000 from Habitat Council. There's some additional funds that go into that because part of the requirement within our permitting has potentially been buoy marking when water gets really low. So we want to have some extra funds so we can have some marker buoys when water gets low to dangerous boating levels, if that ever were to be the case. So that's a new ask for this year. That's $5,000. But again, most of this stuff is for these PVC habitat structures, which you probably saw in those photos. I think the next slide shows some of that. I also like to thank Muskies Inc. They've been a big help with this project, providing labor for a lot of this work and helping us get this stuff in there. But again, what we hope is increasing forage base, which then would increase size structure of smallmouth bass, which anglers really want back in Jordanelle. So And those are some of the pictures you can see there, some of the structures we've used and have approval for all our BOR waters. So they've been used in other places like Rockport, Echo, Pineview most recently. So, and I think that's it.
All right, thanks, Tyler. A good presentation. Any questions for Tyler on this project?
I have two. I should probably know the answer to this one, but where are we with the agreement with the BOR, Don or Tyler?
What Don told me this morning, it is up at risk management getting looked at due to one clause that is in there. However, not much has changed, or if anything has changed in the clause that's now being considered. So we're unsure how it made it to risk management this time around.
So there's no risk of funding this project and then that agreement going sideways, Don?
Come find a mic, Don.
Drew, you're asking loaded questions, Drew. As long as I've been doing this and working with agreements with some of our partners on reservoirs, there's nothing that's a certainty. I don't think I can put a 100% on anything. Although, like Tyler previously mentioned, we're on our third revision of this document, and I do have a written commitment from the Bureau of Reclamation that if the Division of Wildlife signs this, they will sign. So that's about as good as I can give you.
That's good enough. The second question is the buoys you mentioned. Who's responsible for those buoys in the future, moving them in and out of the lake in the winter and maintaining them if something goes wrong with them?
So given, I think it was in the second round of revisions, this is where the buoy conversation got brought in. And within their wording, it was partnered with DWR and state parks to manage those buoys. And I have talked with Amanda up at State Parks, and she was kind of shocked that it was in there versus some waters she's done this on in her Northeast region position, I think Red Fleet where she worked before. But it only has to be out there if water gets below where we're allowed to put these structures. So we will have that 10-year average, 10 foot below the 10-year average. And if we're hitting below that, then they need to be marked. So it's only when they become a boating hazard. So it's not year-round marking.
Will that be an us or a them?
Both. I think I would take responsibility because it's my project. But I would use probably the assistance of the state park and their ability to move said buoys to help me manage where they're at. But it would be a general location. It would not be every single cluster of structure. It would be a buoy for the area to let boaters know that there is potential. So,
the current language in the MOU that is being reviewed says that the Division of Wildlife will work with state parks on those structures when and if they become a boating hazard. Reading between the lines, state parks is equipped to move buoys. That's kind of what they do. I think it's just a matter of us coordinating with them. We'll probably be out on the water quite a bit looking at the structure, so when it gets to that point, then we contact state parks, and I would imagine they would be the ones that would deploy the equipment to move the buoys if needed.
Thanks, Don.
All right, any other questions or comments on this project? Cool. Thanks, Tyler. Before we jump on the next one, let's say I love these reservoir habitat projects and these structures that we can put down in the reservoirs to create that habitat. And so thanks for bringing this one forward. All right. Our next project, still from Central Region, 7902 Strawberry Reservoir Co-op Snowplow. This is one of the big sexy projects, right? Remember to introduce yourself.
Yes, my name's Alan Ward. I work up at Strawberry Reservoir. I'm the project manager up there and work out of the Central Region office. Yes, we've seen this one before. This is kind of an ongoing thing. We've been doing this one for, I was trying to put my head around it, 14 years now, something like that. Wow, it's a few years. But we were told this is the method we were going to go with trying to get this funded on an annual basis. Now, I want to make one quick clarification. This has nothing to do with the West Side Road and the controversy that's been going on over there, if you've heard anything about this. This is completely separate. This is an ongoing one that we've been doing for a number of years up there. To give you a rough overview of what's happening, I mean, you can see in the images up there the kind of pressure and use that we get at Strawberry Reservoir in the wintertime. Strawberry Reservoir gets up to about 250,000 hours, a little over 200,000 on average, just in a single winter season. Okay, this year is an exception. This year was a little strange. But on an average year, that's what we see. Okay, that's more pressure than we get at most of these reservoirs that we've been talking about in a year. That's more pressure. Okay, so what we're asking for here is some money to make sure that these anglers have a place to park. If we don't provide some kind of parking up there, obviously it becomes a huge safety and public hazard issue. People are going to be parked along the highways, and we're going to have all kinds of problems. And we've had those problems in the past, and this is a way that we came up with to alleviate those problems, to provide some places for these people to park. In fact, we completed a project a few years ago to expand the Chicken Creek East parking area, and that provided additional parking for winter access up there. This money, if you want to jump into the finance page, she's got it already. We're typically asked for about $22,000. Sometimes it's split between Habitat and Blue Ribbon, depending on how the allocations work on any given year. But that's more than enough to cover what we do. Just to give you a rundown of what we've seen, obviously it's all dependent on snowpack or snowfall. This year we probably hardly spent anything. And on average, we look at about $8,300 for a winter season to plow 3 parking lots. Chicken Creek East, which I just mentioned, the Ladders, and also over at Mud Creek. Okay, that provides a lot of parking for a lot of people, and it's a very small price to pay at an average of $8,300 to get that many people in there parking. We get a really good bang for a buck because we contract or we work with state parks. Well, actually now with outdoor recreation that oversees plowing at some snowmobile lots up there. So we kind of piggyback on their operation, and they're able to plow those parking lots for very, very cheap. It's basically the cost of fuel and state park wages for a person to operate a piece of equipment. So we get a real good bang for the buck on that one, and get a lot of access in there for the public. And it seems like I know I had one other thing I was going to mention there. Escapes my mind. Maybe one of you will bring it up, but that's all I had.
Thanks, Alan. Questions or comments? I will comment that I'm glad that you are able to kind of line item out that the money that both Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon would put towards this will be really targeting the angling access areas, and that there's other monies taking care of the snowmobile access areas. And so I appreciate you highlighting it that way.
Yeah, and I'll clarify on that just a little bit. I mean, State Parks has 3 different parking lots up there as well. They have the Clyde Creek, the Co-op Creek, and the Strawberry River parking areas that they provide access for snowmobilers up there as well. There is obviously overlap. We know that some snowmobilers use the fishing parking lots, and some anglers probably even use the snowmobile parking lots, but it's been a great joint effort over the years and a really good relationship with those guys on that. So, and then for those of you who are interested, we are still working on that West Side Road issue, trying to make sure we get public access on that West Side Road after the county took it over. We haven't got it finalized yet, but we're got fingers crossed that it's going to happen pretty soon. So.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments on this?
Yeah, Alan, just to make sure I understand fully, is it the Forest Service that actually does the plowing and we're just providing funding to them, or do they have a contractor or the concessionaire? How does that work?
No, it's actually the Division of Outdoor Recreation that currently plows it. And they've been plowing it for a number of years, like I say, state parks and now outdoor rec. And they're plowing it for OHV use with their OHV money, which is why we're started that with the snowmobile parking lots. And then, like I said, we just piggyback onto their efforts. And so it actually is an employee of the Division of Outdoor Recreation who currently plows it, and they have the equipment.
And has that always been the case?
For about 14 years now. And I could give you the long history, but I don't think you want to sit here that long. we have a long convoluted history prior to that too, so.
Yep. Thanks for the clarification.
So if anybody really wants to know the history, talk to Alan separately.
I've been up there since 2000, so I've got a lot of history.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thanks, Alan. Okay. Our next project for review comes out of our Salt Lake office, 7823, fiscal year 27, stream restoration training.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning. My name is Don Wiley. I'm the Aquatic Habitat Coordinator here in Salt Lake. I also am the Aquatic Migration Initiative Coordinator, and I can honestly say that I probably have the best job within the Division of Wildlife. I work with some of the greatest and most brilliant biologists in the state, and as I have the opportunity to work with my counterparts in surrounding states, they're envious of the support that we have to provide training to our aquatic biologists for reservoir habitat improvement as well as stream habitat improvements. And like I said, I think we have the best biologists, not in the state, but just in the West in general. And largely it's due to the support of the Blue Ribbon and Habitat Council in providing support for training our biologists. And the proposal that I'm presenting today is nothing new. It's something we've been bringing to the councils for probably 20 years. And like I said, you guys have been a tremendous support in sending our biologists to training to give them the adequate tools that they need to not only provide on-the-ground projects, but there's a lot more to that. We work closely with our counterparts within the Division of Water Resources who approve stream alteration permits on a statewide basis that come from agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, private individuals, cities, counties, you name it. And in talking with them, they rely heavily on the comments that the Division of Wildlife provides on those permits because they realize the training that we have, and they are not trained as in-depth in stream alteration techniques as our biologists are. So it goes further than just implementing and putting projects on the ground. It's also ensuring that others within the state of Utah are using best management practices when they're out doing things in counties and in private lands, et cetera. So yeah, this proposal, as you see, is to send biologists from our agency. We currently have a plan in place where we try to get our impact biologists within the habitat section in each state or in each region trained in attending the first 2 courses of wildland hydrology. We feel that gives them the basics to comment on stream alteration permits, which largely they do statewide, and also to send at least 3 aquatic biologists to all courses, 4 courses, 5 courses of training at wildland hydrology. We are also interested in ensuring that we have a couple of biologists throughout the state that are trained in wetland delineation. We found that in training our in-house people saves us a lot of money rather than hiring a private contractor or a private individual to do those delineations for us. And then there's also courses periodically through Utah State University that offer a different sort of training than wildland hydrology does, and that's kind of hit and miss. But when those opportunities arise, we like to send them to that training to just get a little bit different perspective on stream restoration and a different technique, as well as our water bodies throughout the state vary from region to region, area to area, and from where you're at in the drainage, if you're higher up or lower down in the drainage. This proposal, the budget, we're asking for $30,000 as a whole, $15,000 from the Habitat Council, and $15,000 from the Blue Ribbon Fisheries Advisory Council. With that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Questions or comments for Don?
Maybe a question and then a comment. Who provides this training? Is it like in-house or do you go somewhere? Who provides this training?
So most of the training that we are receiving currently is through wildland hydrology, and Dave Rosgan is the one who founded that company. He's a retired Forest Service employee who his entire career was dealing with streams and sediment transport and how streams function. And he's come up with his own classification system on how streams function, whether they're first order, second order, third order. And so majority of our training is through him. He's been doing it for, 35, 40 years. And it's a unique opportunity because he's getting there in age. We don't know how much longer he'll be doing it. And it's state-of-the-art classification and understanding stream techniques. So that's primarily where we're sending our people right now.
Thank you. And then maybe just a comment to advocate for this type of training. I come from a background where you get your training from your degree, but sometimes a situation like this, these people are on the cutting edge of technology. They're the tip of the spear, also with time-tested training that really help. It's one of those things that for this investment, it's just really at scale grows, our habitat and opportunity. And so I'm a huge advocate for this kind of training. You might be thinking like, oh, it's like a day off for people, whatever, but it's really a lot of value added. And so I would just advocate for this kind of training for the division members.
Excellent, thank you, good comment. Yeah.
How many people does it train?
So with $30,000, it kind of ebbs and flows depending on the year, depending on the travel restrictions, and location of courses and where they're being offered, because Dave offers courses from Colorado to Montana to North Carolina. We generally try to send at least 5 people every year. Like I said, it ebbs and flows. Some years, like currently this fiscal year and next fiscal year, pending approval of this project, we're sending quite a few people. We've had quite a few people who have moved from our state agency through retirements or through promotions. And so there's a fairly large need right now. And I think we've tentatively got 5 to 6 employees that are looking at going. So yeah, on the average, I would say five employees per year.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Hey, Russ. I've gone through these courses in the past, and they really are good, but they're intense. They're at least a week, some are 2 weeks, where you're really committed to really getting into it, and it's pretty much all day long. I mean, even in the evenings. So, yeah, they're good courses.
Yeah, Dave's a slave driver. You go to the course from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then he has homework assignments for you. So it's not like when you're done with the course you can go fish or explore. It's homework, and some of it's pretty rigorous.
No, I appreciate hearing that. And so from a Habitat Council perspective, I love funding this. It's so important for both aquatic section and some habitat section staff to get this training that has been made available for them, and I love funding this because it does give very detailed, very current training for these types of projects for stream restoration work. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Don. Okay, we're going to move on to our next project from the Northeast region. Where are we starting, Trina?
Looks like we'll start. Richard Gibbs, are you? Oh no, you're here. Sorry, I was looking back there, I didn't see.
Yes, please introduce yourself and tell us about your project.
My name is Brian Engelbert. I'm from the Northeast region. Might want to turn on your mic. What's that?
Yeah, turn on your mic. Is it on? Is it green light?
Green light?
There you go.
My name is Brian Engelbert. I work for the Northeast region for Utah Division of Wildlife Resources, Assistant Aquatics Manager. My responsibilities are over Flaming Gorge and Green River. So a couple of high-profile fisheries over there. This project, all right, start off with this. It kind of started off as 2 different projects. You can see on the map. In here, I'll step back from the mic and talk about this one and this one. This is where the road comes. Grab the mic and carry it. Wow, it's wireless even. This is real technology. Are you able to scroll out a little bit and then come back in? So So this is Daggett County. Flaming Gorge Reservoir is over here, the town of Dutch John. So we're kind of out in the farthest parts of northeast Utah that you can get. This is Colorado and Wyoming right here. These two black dots are the project areas, or proposed project areas. This road coming down, this is Jesse Canyon. This whole project area is referred to as Browns Park. I'm sure most of you guys have heard of Browns Park in one way or another. We, as the division, own quite a bit of property in Browns Park that was received long ago as mitigation compensation for Flaming Gorge Reservoir's construction. Anyway, this first one I'm going to talk about is what I call the Bridgeport boat ramp proposal. And then kind of scrolling back out, this other one is a stream bank restoration that we are proposing. That's on private property. We have WMA land right across the river from it. So the background on this, maybe I just stick with this one because we're here already and don't want to confuse people too much. So this is private property. I can go to the pictures here in a second. We were approached by this landowner a long time ago. He's losing farmland. You can see there's 2,100 feet of affected area here. The fish habitat is pretty subpar because of this eroding bank. Are you able to dim that down a little? Oh, it's somebody else. Okay, awesome. So you can see some islands are forming, channels braiding. Sometimes I consider this a win for channel restoration. Say it was more of a native aquatics area down in the White River or something. For a blue ribbon trout stream, this is not a win though. It's kind of, it's eroding. It's not good habitat. It's shallow, uniform, no holding cover. But we were approached by this landowner several times. He keeps showing up to recovery program meetings. He's very political. Anyway, I've coming new into this position, I decided to, hey, why not start this process? For me, I can't say that I'm not necessarily expecting to not receive funding for this, but at the same time, this is a starting point for me to look at opportunities, internal and then eventually external. This internal pot would be for probably engineering, design, and then external. I would expect this project over a couple years to cost somewhere around $1 million to actually do the construction. So this first phase would be for engineering, design, permitting to look at this. I'll acknowledge that the habitat benefits for 2,100 feet of trout stream is probably not a lot of bang for that kind of money. So I would acknowledge that and kind of stick my own foot in my mouth. But part of the reason that we're looking at it is trying to help our partners, recovery program being one of them, and then eventually partnering them with other entities to look at other avenues for funding a larger project. As well as you don't get many opportunities in a career to work on a system this large, like the Green River, as far as like a habitat restoration project. So this was my one shot while I'm in this position for a handful of years to do a project like this that's meaningful, it has perpetual benefit. And being on the C-section, it's a blue ribbon trout stream. It has a lot of boating traffic, especially through here. So I wouldn't expect too much shore angling, but we get a fair number of boats that come through here. Could you shift just down to here? So we get shore anglers in here a little bit coming out of Swell Canyon. This is the furthest downstream boat ramp within the state of Utah on the Green River. And about a mile and a half downstream, you enter Colorado, and there's another boat ramp that's about a mile down from the state line. So we do get a little bit of shore angling traffic through here, but most of what angling pressure sees this is going to be your boaters. Just to talk about what the Green River's economic value between these two proposals, the fishing value alone of this fishery it's our fifth most used fishery in the whole state of Utah, lakes and reservoirs. So it's pretty high profile to begin with. Economically, we're talking a $15 million to $18 million economic footprint of what this fishery leaves. So definitely has a lot of high exposure. Well, let's go to the Bridgeport one. I don't even know who's adjusting my. Yep.
Is there any historical pictures of what that river looked like before that farm was put in? Was that river changed by the farm?
So that's a good question. I don't have historic photos of it. If you go through a time lapse of aerial imagery, it really started somewhere in the early 80s with the flooding. I'm not old enough to remember. Maybe a few of the committee members are old enough to remember the high intensity flooding that happened in, 83 and 84, if I remember right. Those years. That's when you see this cut become exasperated. And back then the dam was managed a lot differently. They did a lot more steep drawdowns and ramp ups to meet hydropower demand. We still see some of that, but nothing like what we did back then. That led to a situation back in the 80s where our riparian condition was just horrible in the green. We had no willows, no woody riparian growth. So when they really started studying that in the later 80s, they found that the operations of the dam were causing that kind of damage. So they stabilized it, but this is a cut that got through, and I'm sure the agricultural footprint right up to the river didn't help the situation. And then what happened is, we had that flooding event, those flooding events in the 80s come through, erode the bank. Additionally, I think all this is confined channel coming through here through Swallow Canyon. And then this is the first opportunity in about 5 miles where the river actually has a chance to be like, I'm going to spread out. And so I'm sure that's what it's doing, is it funnels all that energy through here during high water events, deposits those sandbars, and then the river's kind of forced to go somewhere else. And the first thing it's going to do is see this soil here. You might as well have talcum powder for soil. That's basically what it is. So the river channel easily eats it out. For our own interests, it would be more for river protection, a little bit of sediment retention, better fishing opportunity on that bank. That landowner in particular, he'd be looking at losing 20 feet to 30 feet if we don't eventually arrest that erosion. Sorry, did I say 20, 30 feet? 20, 30 acres of land that would be lost. Probably, I calculated, it was somewhere in 50 years we'd be hitting that bank. Eventually, I'd expect it to arrest somewhere up here and kind of form the channel, and then it would probably migrate over here. And, like these C-type channels do, they migrate.
Yeah, it looks like an old river delta. Something came in there.
It is. That's actually, it used to be a perennial stream. Upstream a little ways, it's a perennial stream that gets captured and diverted. And so I'm sure it's got geologic time of deposition in that river delta, and you're completely right. So it's not very rocky. Yeah.
You mentioned that the landowner came to you about this. With this project, is he hoping to stop the erosion or regain land that he's lost?
I asked that question directly to him. He would consider it a win if we were able to arrest that bank where it is. With a couple of structures and some fine tuning in the design, I think it's possible we could reclaim a little bit there in the form of towwood structure. It maybe wouldn't gain additional agricultural land from what he's got now, but it would gain a buffer zone just by us tapering, building the structure, and pinning that river's energy downward a little bit instead of laterally. I think we could gain that 15, 20 foot of buffer. Should we go?
In the question answering period?
Apparently.
Yeah, go for it.
Drew and I have questions.
Talking about the second project, the one that, with this landowner, why isn't NRCS engaged with this landowner? It seems like that's what they get paid to do.
That'll be an avenue I start barking down after this proposal process
The other question
goes
is,
out.
you know, riverside, you know, private land ownership. Is there public access? Is there some value to the council, you know, that he's going to provide us when we're done with this?
Other than better fish habitat, that's why I'm very pessimistic coming into that second part of this proposal. Is there anybody that's related to these people before I badmouth them?
There's something deep back in my memory about, and whether it's this landowner or another one, there was some litigation. I don't know if it's litigation, but he was saying that there was a take, like his land was being lost by the floods, and that he owned land. Trina, you might have been manager then. Am I not remembering correctly?
I don't remember exactly anything. He just would come to our Flaming Gorge work group meetings, and it was after the 2011 floods. He was losing land again at a very high pace and was pushing for assistance. And I don't know what the other conversations were, though.
So he brought representatives from Mike Lee's office. Who's our other senator? He brought representatives from both our federal senators, Curtis and Lee, and then he brought Scott Chu, our state representative, into the meeting. So we had 5 or 6 politicians from county, state, and federal represented in a fig twig meeting just because this guy came up here. You get away from the proposal, and what I would like is a little bit better partnership. And if we can fix this problem for him, one, the problem goes away and I don't have politicians showing up to my meetings. 2, hopefully those people can remember that we did them a favor. If that means anything, Drew.
It does. I guess the question did you talk to him about, you know, emergency watershed protection money and NRCS, and when you were with
we
them?
talked about them some.
In front of Mike Lee and
not in front of the politicians, and that would be the next step. Depending how you guys feel and this feedback that I'm getting, this gives me direction to go back to him and say, let's look at a bigger picture. One thing I would mention is that at one time we proposed a cutthroat restoration project here back before I was a cutthroat biologist, so this would have been 2010-ish. We even built a barrier on Willow Creek, the one that comes out of here. There's still a functional barrier up there. If that was a project we ever wanted to propose at some time in the future, he was the one that stopped it, because some of the land that Upper Willow Creek does flow through is his. So if that was a negotiating point for us, I think that would be one way to get it through.
Brian, I have a question as a follow-up then. So when you've spoken with him, is he just expecting us to do this work right now and just nothing? Like he's not going to
These people want all their money in 20s. No 50s. That was what I was talking about with bad mouthing them.
Oh, be careful. This is a publicly streamed meeting, so.
Okay. Thanks, Eric.
You aren't aware.
There's an expectation for government to work for them. Yep.
So is there any possibility to negotiate for public access as part of that?
I guess it would depend on what kind of public access. If you're talking hunting access, I don't even think I would be successful at fishing access. So I would have to say that it's extremely unlikely I would get hunting access for this.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hunting aspects would be like, but from a Blue Ribbon perspective, the fishing access would be.
So if I'm understanding these committees correctly, things that we would be interested in the future to propose this would be access and additional looks at other funding processes. I think these are all fair points that I wanted this committee to tell me, so I had some backbone to go back to them.
Yeah, I think from a Habitat Council perspective, access isn't an absolute must or necessity, but it'll have to be really such a strong habitat improvement component that we would approve something like this.
And even proposing it for me, it was pretty weak. It's a weak tie. It's a benefit, but is it worth that kind of money that we would put in?
Okay. Blake?
Yeah, that was my question, was you did mention some habitat improvement here. Can you go into more detail about that?
So,
and especially from a sport fish perspective.
Yeah. Just so you know, I am planning to survey this reach later this year. This is part of the C section, and we don't have a data record for anywhere in the C section. So, yeah, we're going to be planning on surveying this reach to know and quantify what our trout populations are. But I've caught plenty of trout right here on this bank. It's pretty moderately shallow, not horribly shallow. Obviously, this has some energy to keep that a little deep. A little deep meaning it's probably waist deep. It's relatively swift, relatively unremarkable. Other than this little point here that creates one little back eddy, there's no other habitat features that really hold trout. So if we were to put those features in, whether that be some pocket water rocks, towwood structure, things that would deepen this part and arrest some of that energy, especially during medium flow events or even base flow events, that would definitely be a win for this localized, this one part, this one area. I don't even know if I could guess what it would do for trout numbers, but I think it'd be fair to say it could quadruple what this area currently holds. So now, would you say that was a population impact or a localized fish attractor? I would probably say it's more of a localized fish attractor than actual population level impact.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing is we need a little more detail on what the changes to the habitat would be, what you plan on doing.
The actual habitat project, that's pretty clear in my head. That would be a towwood structure, likely a J-hook right here, a J-hook somewhere down here, and possibly one in the middle. Some of that's pretty fuzzy because an engineer would need to fly this with LiDAR and start really looking at the fine scale of it. But that would be the concept in my head, would be like a towwood structure, bioengineered, something that arrests the stream bank and provides this fish habitat. So the action's kind of clear to me. The benefit is semi-clear. The benefit to the money is where I struggle more, because we'd be ponying up a lot of DWR money for a habitat project that's, we would want more other than a minor fish habitat improvement. Those are my feelings, but I want the committee to tell me that so I can go back to a very political, active landowner and tell him that my committee's told me that. Yeah.
Grab the mic. Yep.
Is the cut bank, is it nature taking its course, or was there some type of human intervention that caused it?
I would say a little bit of both. The human effects of likely farming this allowed the conditions for the river to do what otherwise would have taken 200 years.
Yeah. Well, I guess my question is for further topics. Is there a policy, or what is the policy regarding nature taking its course versus when do you want to intervene? I mean, that's an expensive fix.
Yep.
It's helping one individual person who has political backup. So I guess what's driving this, really?
What's driving the system, or what's driving the
issue? Well, yeah.
Why am I here today?
Is it science saying this should be done, or is it more political?
I would have to go with the second option.
Pardon?
The second option you gave me. It's political. It's not a high priority project that I would necessarily take on. My interest would be looking at either bigger scale issues on the green, public access, but it's political, and I have I guess coming new into this position that I'm currently in, I have the expertise to address something like that. So some of my feeling is, why not use me while I'm in this position to fix a problem and make one less headache go away? Yeah, could you go through the I don't even know who I'm looking at to talk about. Could we go through the pictures? Oh, it's Allison controlling the computer. Cool. Just so you kind of get some reference, I think that the images, maybe we skip a few of these. This will be the second part of the project I want to talk about that I feel more strongly in favor of. Oh, we got to download them all. Shoot. Yeah, this is what the cut bank looks like from the river. Maybe we can go to the next one. Yeah, so you can kind of tell this is a 25-foot vertical bank. It maybe not, it doesn't even quite look that high because we're so far away, but this is the island. You can see the island there, and then you drift boats end up needing to go left here, pull left, and then float along that alfalfa field. So one of the previous projects, while Allison's looking through these pictures, one of the previous projects that I did was on the Duchesne, where we already had full stream access. And I'm definitely in favor of trying to work with landowners to do a balanced project. And that Duchesne River project I did was one of them. I just wrote a blog about it. Like developing win-win scenarios for fishermen, fish habitat, and landowners. I love those opportunities, but I would definitely be interested in knowing what the committee feels we could gain from public access, or how we could further benefit from a project like this.
So one question I have, I was just looking kind of at the property lines on the map there. Is this something he would be willing to redraw the property lines so that it incorporates all of that where it's river? Would then be property of the state that could be incorporated into the WMA? Perhaps. I mean, it's not worth anything to him in its current state. Is it something that he would give over, and then anglers could access that bank effectively?
I could see them being a little bit more favorable toward, say we fenced a portion of it off. I could see them maybe granting some kind of an angler easement, but I think it would be really tough to get that kind of win, even with an easement, let alone a donation.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to pony up that kind of money for a project like this, it's almost essentially it's the money we're putting up would be purchasing that land. But as you look at the boundaries and where his property is versus public lands all around it,
like this,
that would be the win-win, right?
So this currently would be sovereign land here. So I guess I'm not sure what kind of land ownership we'd be getting out of it.
So when you're on the water at Sovereign, though, right?
Yep.
You can't step on the bank currently.
Currently, yeah. So I think in the past it would be more of an easement for our agency. I'm more familiar with more easements than we have other modes like direct land ownership. We have both, but I would say an easement would be slightly more palatable for them. Are we good? Go to the other one.
So the other one meaning other project?
This property, yeah.
Gotcha.
I linked them both because when we conceived this project back in November, we also intended to, and I even wrote that in the proposal, we intend more phases that would include more projects in the actual wetland. Right now the wetland is really struggling. We've got only a couple ponds that are partially functional. It's a huge need out there, and it gets a lot of duck hunting use. So we intended to link all these projects together, but we couldn't get our wildlife partners, counterparts, to really come up with a full project design that would be available for this proposal process. That's something I'm hoping to work with next year, get a little earlier start and a few more people involved to pressure getting that up to snuff. Anyway, this parcel is on our WMA, so we own it. This is all pavement through here. There currently is a boat ramp right where that little Is that the actual boat ramp? Yep, that's a current boat ramp in its current form. And I got a picture or two of it. Essentially, it's a road to a riffle. Trying to launch a drift boat out there is kind of a nightmare. There's boulders about the size of this TV that you're driving over, and I wouldn't even drive my F-350 over it myself to launch my personal boat. So it is a angler access point. It's the only boat ramp for a couple miles upstream and a couple miles downstream. It's on the C section. And how this got started is a couple of the guides, Green River guides, approached me about this boat ramp since we own it and being in its defunct state. So I saw this as an opportunity to develop a project that we could have a better boat ramp on our facilities and our property really close to pavement that would benefit just not only guides, recreationists, but also a lot of our public angling clientele, which represent, our private angler has about a third of our total angling pressure is just private boats. Another third is guided boats, and then another third is shore angling on the green. So yeah, all users could benefit from a ramp here. And what I'm proposing is to move the ramp upstream. Not sure why it's not showing up in a polygon there. So it'd be moving the boat ramp up about 100 feet to a better location on more of a sediment neutral site, and it would have the sufficient water depth to actually launch your watercraft. As part of this proposal, I would shut the black polygon here is to close down the current boat ramp. The yellow polygon would be where, I'm not sure why it shows up that large, but we'd be installing a 2-track driveway down to about the middle of it, installing another parking lot about the size of the current parking lot, and then the road access going down to a Fleximat boat ramp. So the boat ramp itself would be made out of Fleximat material, like a mobile concrete type of material that you roll down, and that would be to stabilize that ramp feature. And then the parking lot would be just constructed out of local gravel. We would keep the current 2-track in here and the current parking lot. As you can see, there's 3 or 4 trucks even there on the aerial imagery that are using it in its poor condition. So I imagine quite a few people would be using this if we actually improved it to a usable surface. Maybe we go to the pictures real quick just to kind of show you what we got. Okay, this is looking at the current boat ramp in its current form. You got to drive through all these boulders and about out to here to get sufficient water depth. Since this ramp was constructed on a riffle feature, and that's why we want to move it upstream to here, is this is more of a sediment neutral, not depositing, not eroding surface, a lot less energy, water energy. So if we built it up here, it would give us more of a ramp grade that we could do. Maybe next picture. That's the road going into the current parking lot. It's built a little bit in a gully. This is the current parking lot. This is, just a sign looking upstream. This is me standing where the boat ramp is and what people got to drive over in its current form. This is the view looking at the old parking lot from about the edge of where the new parking lot would be. This right here is where the new boat ramp would go. It's just right there. It drops off to about 4 feet, pretty deep, pretty quick. I don't have that hat anymore. Is that it for pictures? Okay. Maybe we go to finance. Okay, this is looking down at what people drive across to get their boats over to, and so I would propose closing this off right here where this picture line is, and then reclaiming this feature. So a timeline of this project, I'm looking at running Ari out there to preliminary look at the archaeology, because this is called Cowboy Bar. There used to be a bar right next to where the current boat ramp is. So there's quite a bit of archaeology. I went out there looking around with my kid with the metal detector. Shouldn't even. I didn't find anything. I was curious what was around there though. Yeah, found all kinds of old alcoholic stuff from the 50s and older though. It was kind of crazy. There's an old building there that's dilapidated, fallen down. So yeah, there's a lot of archaeology right there. So Ari's going to look at it, and then we're going to contract out archaeology to clear this whole area. Next timeline thing would be the 404 permit. I plan to probably do that in-house. We'll probably consult some NEPA. Apparently, Craig Walker told me I got to do NEPA for this project. I didn't think I would have to do that because it's our own property. And then, yeah, construction as early as this fall, if I was able to receive all the funding pots. I should talk about funding a little bit, though. I think I asked for how much for this part of the project. It's split out in here somewhere. Yeah, like couple of these are earmarked for Bridgeport, so the Cowboy Bar ramp. The $270,000, that is for the other part of the project. I think the rest of it would all be included as part of the actual Bridgeport project. So I guess that's an easy split off if you guys were to split the two projects apart again. I should also talk, I've put this project in for boater access money and for the Division Outdoor Recreation Grant. So there's two other sources that we've got money in for this.
Okay, Brian, great presentation, lots of great questions. And so I'm just gonna provide just some guidance for our councils here as to how we address this. And so you have multiple things going on here, right? This is a kind of a two-part project. You've got the private landowner stretch of restoration, and then you have the Browns Park part. And so potentially this afternoon, when we're back with our own councils, you could look at or think about segregating the project into two, okay? But we don't have to do that. So the other thing that I want to mention that is knowing that there potentially is a political component with a landowner to part of this project. Our jobs is to evaluate the projects based upon their merits as a habitat or an access improvement project. There are other processes that it will go through to evaluate the politics. That's not necessarily our job. It's okay for you to have an opinion. I know I do. We can even talk about that briefly if you want to, but so that it's kind of known, being professional about it. But that is not part of our job to really decide that. That'll be other filters that will do that. But please evaluate this project, both sides of it, based on its merits on habitat improvement and access improvement or not. Trina, anything you'd want to add to that?
No, just thank you for clarifying. Definitely agree.
And so this afternoon, when you're either ranking or voting, that's how we're going to view this project for now. And one of those answers could be segregating it out because there could be some other issues going on. That would be okay too. I really do like the Browns Park, and habitat is habitat, and fish move up and downstream, and we'll go into those areas where they are accessible for anglers. So I'm not, pushing either way. I'm just saying, make sure you understand that and think about that. Evaluate this project based on those characteristics of it, and does it improve habitat and access, yes or no? And in some cases, maybe it doesn't. And so, and maybe some other stuff has to happen, but that's how we are going to evaluate these.
Do you think there's a way I could get kind of a summary and notes of the committee members' thoughts on it? Non-identifying, obviously, but some concerns if the committee has concerns.
Yeah, I'm sure between both councils and Drew and Trina and myself and on the Habitat Council side, we're more than happy to provide additional feedback after the fact.
4 or 5 points would be,
Yeah.
bullets would be awesome.
And our director's office may have an opinion on this too, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Drew, any other thoughts along those lines that you would want to bring out at this point? Okay, any other questions? We kind of want to move on to the next one, but sure, grab the mic. Thanks.
What's the purpose of moving the road rather than connecting the two parking lots?
There's about an 8-foot gully. One of the pictures showed a gully there, and there was an 8-foot gully that I was hoping to avoid. The linear length of road needed to connect them versus move it was pretty much equitable, so I thought just tying into the road would be easier and not having to buy a bridge or a giant culvert. That gully at times has flushed some major. It's closed down the Browns Park Road, but I don't have to maintain that. I do have to maintain any structure that we put here, though.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on the boat ramp proposal? Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Brian. Good discussion. Okay. We're going to move on to the next one. 7723 Duchesne River Bank Restoration. You're up.
Hi there, I'm Braxton Newkirk. I'm the Uinta Basin Project Manager with Trout Unlimited. This is a project that I put together with Garn Birchall out of the Northeast region. A little bit of history about this project. So the bank is located about 1.5 miles north of the town of Hanna. So it's located within the public easement for the Duchesne River in that area. Actually, sitting right about here is the second public access point. So a lot of anglers move into here and then wander up through the stream. Anecdotally, this area is pretty high use. Every time I've been in the area, I see a lot of vehicles parked alongside the road, a lot of people out there fishing. Anyways, kind of back to this project. So back in 2017, 2018, the private landowner here had some issues with bank erosion on the north side of the river. This bank was eroding towards his access road, which is a part of an easement to get over to essentially part of his property on the other side of the river from his main property. As a result, you can see in this picture that he installed some rectangular formed concrete, filled it with sandbags, added some cobble in there to try and arrest this erosion. Wasn't really a huge success, I would say. A lot of them have fallen in, as you can see. Some of the neighbors also weren't very happy and actually reported this restoration, if you want to call it that, to the Division of Water Rights. They came out and did an assessment, and they want him to fix this bank. And so this has been kind of a long time coming. My predecessor, Mike Fiorelli, had kind of started to work on this, and then some things kind of got involved. He wasn't able to get to it. Later last year is when Garn got an email about it. He looped me into this, and so we've been talking with this landowner about trying to fix it. And so what we're looking at is about 120, 130 feet of bank there. At spots, it's about 5 to 6 feet tall. And it is going to continue eroding if we don't do something about it. And so what we've proposed to do is the landowner in kind will pay to have his previous work removed and taken off-site. And then Garn and I will go in there and we'll rip-wrap this bank. It's not really our ideal solution, but given the space that we're working with and really what we have access to, that's going to be our best option. And so given that it's rip-wrap, you know, our plan is to leave it a little chunkier to keep some of those kind of slower water interstitial spaces for fish habitat. And then also we're planning to tie in a J-hook on the upstream end, so the left side, if you're looking at this map, to help kind of reduce some of that velocity. And then on the downstream end, we want to put in a cross vein structure to help provide grade there, slow the water back down a little bit, and recenter that channel so that we don't have any downstream effects from it. Really, this is one of those situations where we're almost dealing with some of the ghosts of landowners past here. Back in the early 90s, the previous landowners, just upstream of there, so if we zoom out on the map and go to the left a little bit, so right here near this house, the previous landowner actually installed some other riprap structures, straightened the channel out, added about 30 feet of land there. And so I think what we're dealing with, this is the river is trying to kind of center itself. And so we really need to kind of step in and stop this so that the landowner can continue to have access. Additionally, we know that this will improve the fish habitat in that reach. And given that it is such a high use area, I do think it's worthwhile to try and have some effect there. If we could go to images and videos, I can kind of highlight. So, yeah, that's looking downstream. That first image is. That's as we're looking kind of downstream towards the upper end of it. You can see it's pretty ugly in its current form. Luckily, a lot of the sandbags have been removed. There's still a few in there, but again, the first effort is having the landowner pay for the cleanup essentially of that, and then we would come in and install something that's better thought out for fish habitat. And then if we can go, again, looking, upstream, you can actually see in this image a sort of homemade gabion basket, if that's what you want to call it. He looks like he kind of took some horse panel and welded it together and filled it full of cobble. Definitely not the best option. However, it's the one that seems to be holding up the best for him there so far. And then if we want to go to videos, I've actually got an overhead flight of that stretch. And so, again, about 130 feet from tip to tail of the project. We do have support from the adjacent landowners in terms of they like the idea that we've presented in terms of trying to fix up that bank so that, you know, they're the ones that are looking at it every day. They were on board with it. The landowner that he has the easement through was on board with our project. You know, really this is just one of those things where we have to get it done. And so we're kind of trying to use the best options available. Yeah.
So what is this access point called? Is it the first one from Hannah? Where is this exactly?
So it's the second one in Hannah. So the first one is actually where Brian and Garn have done some work in the past on another private landowner's access point. It looks really good. We're trying to kind of systematically work on some of these eroding banks that we have or problem areas that we have in this area. And so this is the second access point. It is definitely within the easement. I've heard from the landowners that are across the river from this restoration that they've seen a lot of people who used to fish this stretch. Once the restoration, the restoration, if you will, was put in, a lot of them have since started to kind of skip it. And I don't know if it's just, I mean, aesthetically, it's not very pleasing. Concrete blocks aren't very great if you're trying to drift a fly through there. So
it's that tabby swale. So you go down the road down into the river, and it's got the narrow little between the fence lines. And we just recently installed, well, probably not recent now, but we do have some nice metal stiles through there, so there's better access because that landowner just had some janky stiles and some janky fencing too. So it should be pretty accessible, so it'd be great to get good habitat in there.
Is janky a technical term, Trina?
I'm very technical.
Yeah, okay.
You don't know.
Yep, I like it.
in this case, I think yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on this project? Okay. All right.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a break for 10 minutes. Then we'll come back and get through the rest of these Northeast region and Southern region projects. And so we'll be on break for 10 minutes. Restrooms are down the hall over here. There's still snacks and treats in the back. Thanks. Is he going to be online? Okay.
Yep, I am ready.
Okay, give us 1 more minute. AV team, we're ready to go.
All right, we are live.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We're back from break, and we're going to jump into the next project. It is project 6040 Pelican Lake Eurasian Water Milfoil Control Project, and we have, let's see, Richard Gibbs online to present. Go ahead, Richard.
Yes, Allison, could you bring up in the documents, I have a PowerPoint PDF slide.
Richard, remember to introduce yourself when you start here. Thanks.
Yes. Richard Gibbs, I'm with the DWR. I'm aquatic invasive species biologist for the northern and northeastern regions. All right, so yeah, Pelican Lake Eurasian Water Milfoil Control Project, and we're looking at 2 different phases. The first phase is going to treat half the lake, and then the following year we look to follow up and treat the other half. It's a pretty good sized lake. If you want to go to the next slide, Pelican Lake is located in Randelette, Uinta County, and it's between Roosevelt and Utah, just about 30 miles in each direction. It's a fairly large lake, all things considered. It's about 1,700 acres, and it's a blue ribbon fishery with trophy bluegill and largemouth bass. Fairly shallow lake. Maximum depth is 16 to 17 feet, and average depth is 9 to 13 feet. Next slide. A need for invasive water milfoil control. Pelican Lake is another lake that we have in the northeastern region that has been taken over by milfoil, and it's both Eurasian, hybrid, and northern. All 3 of them are very, very problematic when it comes to angler access and boater opportunity, along with hindrance to the animals, the fish and the birds. The reason we want to do the milfoil project is to restore the habitat for fish and waterfowl. And by doing that, it increases angler opportunity and improves boating access, better sport fish habitat, removes invasive plant habitat for undesirable fish, carp being the main one there at Pelican Lake, and it improves sport fish populations. Better habitat for waterfowl. Waterfowl can get tangled up in those dense milfoil mats, and they tend to avoid water that has those dense mats of milfoil. And also to restore plant diversity. Pelican Lake used to have 13 aquatic plant species, and now it's down to 3. And it also helped restore the macrovertebrate diversity, which is a food for fish and waterfowl. Better water quality. It robs oxygen from the water, and by doing so can lead to fish kills and increased sedimentation. Next slide. Details. So the aquatic herbicide we're looking at using is Procellicor, and we're looking to treat half the lake, which is 840 acres, surface acres. And Procellicor is very selective. It will not harm any native vegetation, macroinvertebrates, or other animals. It's proven to be very successful in the reservoirs that we've treated here in Utah that I've been a part of. Bullock Reservoir, Tony Grove, Browns Ponds, Upper Stillwater Ponds, and Old Fort Pond. Very few water restrictions. Irrigation use within 7 days after application. No other water use restrictions. Fishing, swimming, potable water. First treatment, or the first phase of the treatment, we're going to treat 330 surface acres at a very high PDU of 2.5, and then the rest of that, the lake in the middle, will be treated just by diffusion. And the reason why we're treating it so high is to get rid of the northern and the hybrid, which requires a higher concentration. And we're looking at 1 full day treatment for the first phase, and then monitoring after the second phase. Next slide. Right now, we're still waiting on BLM approval for Priscilla-Core. It's a standard approval process, and BLM coordination is already underway. Our BLM rep, he's been counseled to go as if it's already been approved, but I just wanted to throw that out there. We're still waiting for approval and hope to have it before May. If for whatever reason that doesn't get approved, we have another herbicide which is called Sonar, which has a very similar profile to Priscilla-Core. But Priscilla-Core is widely approved and used by the Forest Service along with a lot of state agencies. Next slide. So finance of the budget. What we're asking for from the Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon is $137,000. We already have $180,000 from Dutch John Motorboat Access. In kind, $5,500, and the total for this first phase is $3,200. Yeah, $3,200 and
322, right?
Yeah. Apologize. So that's going to be the total amount, but we already have 180,000 set aside so far. Next page. So yeah, that's it. Questions?
All right. Comments? Questions? Blake, you're up.
Hey, after the treatment, does this leave a lot of dead plant matter in the water?
Yeah, but that hasn't been a problem. I mean, that's something that we've looked at in the other lakes that we've treated, and yeah, that question's come up as far as dead plants sinking to the bottom, which could potentially impact O2 levels, but we haven't seen that at all. The person that does the application that's over the distribution of Priscilla-Core, he's never had a situation where that's been a problem.
Yeah, Richard, this is Drew. This is phase one. What does phase two look like, and what's the time frame that you are going to need to implement phase two if you're funded for phase one?
So phase one is gonna focus on specific areas within the lake, and then phase two is gonna finish it up. So it's gonna be the same amount of the herbicide for just splitting up between phase one and phase two. We're looking hopefully doing it back-to-back years. We want to treat it this year, beginning of fiscal year 27 in August, and then we would do the same the following year with phase two.
So you'll be back with a similar request next year then?
Yes.
Richard, this is Trina. So if you're going to treat in August and there's a 7-day window where they can't take or use that water for irrigation, like, are they okay with that? Do they just expect it to be down at conservation pool by then, and that's why they're okay to proceed?
Yeah, so I've talked with the group of I forget the name of the group that's the
Ouray Park.
stakeholders. Yes, and they were fine with it. They said during that time this 7 days is not going to be an issue as far as irrigation.
I do have one other question, Richard. The source of Eurasia milfoil is the inlet and the canal system that connected Bullock and Cottonwood to Pelican, correct? So
Correct, and that's why we did. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Drew.
are you going to treat that canal system, or has it already been treated?
Yeah, so we haven't needed to treat the canal, but we treated the source, which is Bullock, and then when it was treated, we're also going to treat the canal that combined Bullock and Cottonwood, and also Cottonwood had a little bit at the inlet there, and that we're going to treat as well. But the water levels were so low that all dried out, so that wasn't an issue. So the main source Bullock was treated, and at that point, it shouldn't be a concern. Anything else from that point down.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? I hope we can be effective at milfoil projects, because it's bad.
Yeah, it gets really bad.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you all.
All right. Our next project to review is Starvation Reservoir Angler Access and Fish Habitat. Natalie, are you up for that one? Okay.
I'm here, but Josue is behind you walking up.
Yes,
and he's
he
gonna do
is. Thank you.
majority of that.
Remember to introduce yourself and go for it.
I do have a presentation in the document. Good morning, everyone. My name is Josue Hernandez. I am the sports fish biologist for the Northeast region. And I'll be presenting to you guys the starvation habitat and the blanking on the name. Angler access. Yes, thank you, Trina. Just so you guys picture, you guys can locate the where we're at. This is the Freedom Bridge. It's Highway 40, just outside of Duchesne. I will be where I'll be talking about. We'll be talking about these pillars that are right below that bridge. This is where we intend to set the structures. Next page. So our purpose is, there's two components to this project. One of them is the engineering construction of a parking area and an angler access trail down to the shoreline. This will be on the south side of that bridge. And then provide additional fish habitat to increase forage for fish recruitment. Those will be set on those pillars. Next page. So you can see here a representation of those structures that we're proposing installing on this on the pillars. These are honey hole droppers that would be we'll be using a cable that will be wrapped around the pillars, and these will be on the inside pillars, inside 5 pillars. Those outside pillars will be left alone. As the water levels drop down, we don't want those structures to be left in the dry. So we want to make sure that those are in the water. Those cables will be wrapped around the pillars and they'll be sustained with buoys, so that way they can fluctuate with water levels as they rise and come down. The honey hole droppers itself will be hanging down to a minimum length of 15 feet down below the water surface. We can increase that. There's also we'll be monitoring the honey hole droppers using live sonar, and we're also looking to part of our ask for the proposed is the purchase of an underwater drone, and this will give us another additional tool so that we can look at what these structures are how these structures are working for the forage fish. Next slide. So the honey hole droppers themselves are made out of polyethylene. They won't decay, and then they will be attached to the cables using clevises. And they're 20 feet long with 12 limbs and 192 leaves. They'll be chained at the bottom, and the total weight is 8 pounds. We have been have a meeting with UDOT, and we have an MOU that is in process. They are okay with the installation of these honey hole droppers, with the exception of for us to take them down once every 5 years, as they have to inspect those pillars. And the next slide. So the next component of this project is the trail engineering and design. As you can see here, this is on the north side of that, the Freedom Bridge. The proposed location for the parking lot would be on the south side, and our proposal for this project is just for the hiring an engineering firm to survey and give us or to engineer for the parking lot, and then and engineer an established trail down to the water. This is a highly used angler access area. In the summertime, springtime, there's quite a bit of folks that use it from the shore. There was a tragic accident that happened back in 2019, and this is our response to try to mediate some of that. And next one. Just a total breakdown of our funding request. Again, just the engineering would be $11,500 for that parking lot and the trail down to the shore. And materials and supplies would be around $25,000, and the underwater drone would be $2,500, with a total ask of $39,000. With that, any questions?
Questions for Josue? Blake.
Yeah, 2,500 is not a lot of money, but doesn't the DWR have underwater drones already?
I do not have it in my region. I'm not sure in any other regions if we do or not.
Okay, I feel like Northern Region has said that they have something.
Yeah, we have two.
Okay.
One that doesn't work so well.
Thanks for that. So maybe.
Emily at Bear Lake has one. There's some technical things, but she has one. We were gonna go look at the structures and find you with it before clarity got bad.
We can probably add that to consideration, potentially, of partnering with one of the other regions that has one. Just something to look into.
Well, and looking at the finances, that 2,500 is supposed to come from Blue Ribbon, not even Habitat Council. So I was just curious if the regions share.
Yeah, absolutely. We can work together.
Okay, other questions or comments? All right.
Yes.
Thanks. Actually, Natalie had one online. Sorry.
No problem. I would have chimed in a second. I just wanted to give kudos to Josue and Ryan Mosley. They came up with a pretty creative idea for ways to install habitat structure and that we really haven't thought about before. And it allows that water fluctuation to occur without us having to go and move something more frequently. So I think it's a really great idea. I'm hopeful that we can get it all approved and move it forward. And thanks, Josue, for presenting on the trail situation. Josue and I will be working together to make that hopefully come to fruition in the future.
And I do want to add that I love this project. Fish are absolutely going to use those habitats, and the access there. I've I've parked there to ice fish, and it is a steep hill. And so I absolutely love this project. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Access is definitely one of those key things that we fund from both these programs, I think. So go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. I just started thinking about my trips over there. It seems like there's quite a few boats that will hang by those cement pillars. Do you think this is going to increase traffic in those areas?
I mean, like you mentioned, there is quite a bit of boaters there already. And the reason why they're there is because it's a pretty hot spot for fishing. Those pillars already hold a lot of fish. So hopefully by spreading them out and having them all 5 pillars, we can have more room. So far, when I'm out there, I've only seen them on the 2 pillars on the outsides. So, but yes, there will be, I would say there would be definitely an increase.
All right. Anything else on this one? Okay. Thanks, Josue. All right. Last one from the Northeast region, 7774 Strawberry River Restoration Project, Phase 4.
Hello, my name is Carson Inkhouse. I'm an aquatics biologist for the Utah DWR in the Northeast region. I'm going to be presenting on Phase 4 of the Strawberry Restoration Project. I do have a slideshow in my documents, if we can go there. It's just that top one. Okay, so just walk through kind of a timeline of this project and everything that's happened. You can go to the next slide. So this is 2017. It's a thriving fishery, a lot of big brown trout, big cutthroat. Next slide. Here's some pictures of us electrofishing and doing surveys in 2017. Next slide. And then in 2018, there was the Dollar Ridge fire. Go to the next slide. This is a cabin that was owned by the Utah DWR that succumbed to that fire as well. You can go to the next slide. Here's some damage to the road. You can see how severe the erosion is. The river channel is off to the left, so you can imagine all that sediment being deposited in the river. Next slide. Here's a bridge that was completely covered up that had to be dug out. Go to the next slide. More fire damage. Next picture. And then there's just a close-up looking at the sediment load that the water in the river had. Next picture. 2019, some fish stocking was attempted. So you can go picture that. You can see the habitat's still in pretty rough shape when this started. Next picture. And then in 2020 and 2021, EWP came in and started doing some restoration work, which you can go to the next slide. So this included restoration that was less than ideal. So you see very large riprap banks. Go to the next slide. Very straight and narrow channels, very homogeneous, not much habitat. Next slide. Here are these pole-assisted log structures that were put in to help try to catch debris flow. Next slide. And then just more examples of just a very straight, uniform channel that doesn't achieve much. And next picture. Here was an attempt at putting structures inside the stream, just evenly spaced boulders that really didn't accomplish much. You can go to the next picture. So with all that happening, we wanted to go back in and do some restoration that we felt like achieved what we wanted. So in 2023, that started. So you can see here a cross vein was added. You can go to the next picture. And so you can see just habitat complexity goes up, more fish holding area, vegetation. Next picture. Just another angle of that, the next one. And then here's a before and after. So on the left, even though it's green, you can see that channel is straight and there really isn't much to it. And on the right, after restoration, you can see there's a lot more heterogeneity and habitat throughout. Next picture. And then 2025, this last year, you can go to the next. So this is coming out of Slab Lake. It was a lake formed from a debris flow coming out of Slab Canyon. This area right here had a very steep gradient that was potentially acting as a fish barrier and really wasn't contributing much to healthy habitat. Next. This is another picture before. You can see it's kind of a mess. Another problem we had with this is that Slab Lake that was created was starting to drain, and that's something that we wanted to capture and maintain. Next picture. So last year's focus was on stabilizing this outlet structure, solving the gradient issues by doing step pools and riffles down throughout that reach. And this is just an example of after it was completed, this whole section was just a giant, very steep riffle, and you can see we have some very nice deep pocket water. Next slide. There's another angle of that same area, but you can see there it's much better habitat. Next slide. And then same thing again, just another angle. And then 2026 and moving forward, if you go to the next slide. So we've got plans from URMCC and All Red Restoration who we're working with here. And so this year they're focusing on mile 8.5 to 12.5. And this picture and the next three pictures focuses on what they're accomplishing. The sections that are outlined in red are areas with the worst habitat quality, so they're going to be given emphasis. But you can see the plans in these 4 different structures throughout. And it also incorporates some wetland and vegetation stuff that we're doing in these areas as well. And then you can go next slide. Again, just more area. This picture also shows a yellow, so that's a moderate priority. Go to the next slide. And then just more plans for this upcoming year. And the next slide. And then next, one more. Oh, and one more. And then, so for the budget and finance, so the grand total for this project for this upcoming year is $1.3 million. In kind, the total is $1.1 million. We're asking here for $182,000. This money will be put to contractual services for weed and temperature control. It will be put towards material and supplies for vegetation and rock purchasing. Could also be used for equipment rental and use, and contractual services for BOR force account. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you for your support and any questions.
Okay, questions, comments? I'll just say from a habitat and a Habitat Council perspective, years of work both from our staff, aquatics, habitat, URMCC, lots of money from all those sources, us, them, EWP. We've been involved pretty much throughout for many years in all of these restoration processes along the Strawberry, and just it needs to keep going, and it's great work in my opinion.
Yeah, just a comment and a thanks. You know, Garn, Brian, Carson, Natalie done a great job out there, and I just wish that the EWP money and that effort was more in line with what river restoration should be. You know, it was designed for a purpose that is in the central part of the United States, works just fine. But when we're dealing with catastrophic fires, EWP is more in our way in river restoration than working with us. I wish it was a little different.
Yep, I agree.
Carson, I was just wondering, could you just touch on what progress you guys have made this fiscal year?
So that was when I had the 2025 slides on. So that was a stabilization of Slab Lake and working on those structures coming out of it. The newer designs I showed at the end, they just gave those to us like a month and a half ago. So that's all coming up. Yeah, finalizing that right now. But yeah, so
is the fiscal 26 this year's work, is it already completed, or is there still more work to be done?
It's complete. I guess I kind of screwed up. I put 2025 when this stuff was completed in our fiscal year 26. So that's where I.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. That completes our Northeast Region projects for this combined portion. We got a couple of projects from the Southern Region we're going to review. First one is 7639 Penguich Lake hypolimnetic siphon. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm guessing most people know where Penguich Lake is, but it's a really popular lake in southern Utah. Blue ribbon fishery, it gets a lot of use. It's a great fishery and very economically important to the area. Penguich Lake is nearby, or Penguich Town is nearby.
Nick, remember to introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
I always forget that.
It's
So
okay.
I'm Nick Braithwaite. I'm a fisheries biologist in the southern region. So Penguich Lake, it's a great fishery. One issue that we've worried about for a long time there is water quality. So it's a very nutrient-rich lake, which has been great historically for growing large fish. But recently those nutrient levels have kind of been getting too high. We've had harmful algal blooms and conditions that make it difficult for fish survival, especially during the summer. So we've had an idea for quite a while of, is there a way to improve the water quality? And to clarify, Penguich Lake is a natural lake. But then there's been a dam that was built for additional irrigation storage on top of the natural lake. So there's a natural lake level that's there, but then some additional water storage on top of it with the dam. So maybe Allison, if you could go to the images, and there's kind of a rough design drawing that I think will give you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish with the project. So this is a really crude drawing of Penguich Lake, but so you can see, so it's a natural lake level, and then the brown there is meant to represent the dam. So basically you can see that they can only release kind of that top portion of the water column, and then the rest is the natural lake level. And so the issue we have is the water kind of in the middle there, it ends up being really stagnant, nutrient rich, low oxygen water that's just kind of stuck there. And then during the summer, so you have stuff decomposing in that bottom area, low oxygen. Up higher in the water column, it gets really warm. So during the summer, the fish are kind of compressed into a narrow zone where they can survive. And if it gets bad enough, we have fish kills. And a couple of years ago, we had a fish kill. Luckily, we didn't lose many trout. It was mostly Utah chub that had just finished spawning and died. But so anyway, the idea with the project is the black line represents a siphon. So when they're pulling water for irrigation use, rather than releasing it at the dam, we'd be pulling the water from the really nutrient-rich, dense part of the lake there in the middle and releasing that water for irrigation. So we'd be getting rid of a lot of the nutrients that are causing the water quality problems. So that's the idea behind the project. Like I said, we've kind of been kicking the idea around for quite a while. We thought it seemed like a good idea. We talked a lot with water quality. So Paul Burnett's here. He kind of looked into it, did some modeling, and we felt a lot better on our end once we knew Paul had looked at it and felt good about the project concept. So we decided to move forward with it. It was also good timing. The dam, if you remember, there was a big scare a few years ago. There was a crack in the dam, and they ended up having to replace the dam. It's almost done now. But that kind of initiated a really good opportunity for us to do the siphon project. We were able to piggyback on a lot of the permitting, archaeological clearance, or Section 7, Fish and Wildlife Service kind of permitting that we needed to do. That was a picture of the fish kill. So that dam rebuild really was a good opportunity for us to jump in and piggyback on a lot of work that was already done and put this siphon in. So in addition to the fish kills, we also there's a picture there of a harmful algal bloom, which makes, they're just really unpleasant. There's often, pretty much every year, late summer, early fall, there's an advisory, don't let your kids play in the water, dogs drink it. You can still boat and fish, but it's unpleasant, it smells, it doesn't look good. obviously that's right at the dam. That's where it's the worst. It's pretty gross there. So we're really hoping to get with this siphon, get rid of these algal blooms, and get rid of the risk of fish kills. And I want to also mention, you're probably wondering, so I mentioned there's a nutrient loading that's happening. We have all these nutrients in the lake. So there are other projects going on that dovetail with this project to address the source of the nutrients. So there's a project that's going to be implemented this spring to improve fencing around the lake, to manage livestock grazing. There's upstream projects. Brian had fire occurred in the headwaters here. So we have projects trying to reduce kind of sediment input from the fire. And then the cabins and everything around Panguitch Lake. We're in very initial stages, but trying to move away from a septic system there and address the septic issues there. So we are trying to address the source of the nutrients with other projects that dovetail with this one. So with that, I think we can maybe move to the finances portion. So it's a big project. We're looking at, not including in kind, $775,000. A lot of that is, most of it is for engineering and then buying the materials, especially the pipe. And then obviously construction costs, barging the pipe out and then digging it in where it's not in the water. But anyway, so we've been lucky. Water Quality especially has been a great partner. They've come up with a lot of money, 319 federal water quality money and then state non-point source money. Anyway, we've got a lot of other support. So our ask from Blue Ribbon and Habitat Council is a little under $100,000 for this fiscal year. Our plan would be to purchase materials in FY27, so late, like May or June of next year, of 27, and then we'll come to you again this time next year, ask for more money to implement. So we're kind of splitting it between 2 fiscal years to make it a little more palatable, and that works better with permitting and everything. So that's kind of our ask. We split it pretty much evenly between Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon.
Yeah, but maybe before we jump into the questions, I'll just comment. Just, you know, there's substantial commitments made here from DEQ, 319 non-point source. There's 3 different buckets of money. Just really appreciate them, you know, jumping on board with this project. It's been talked about a lot, I think, for a while. But maybe we'll go to Drew and then Blake.
Just one question. There's 2 agreements that we discussed, and I just want you to let everybody know where they're at. So the one would be with the dam owners, and then the second one would be with the irrigators. So are those in place?
I don't think they're in. Is Don still around? Don would know. He's been working with us, so we're working on that. I think the agreement, I know those, so the water users had their attorneys draft up an agreement, and I think that's with our GA's office right now is where I think that's at. But I haven't heard anything that's overly, nobody's worried about anything, but I don't think they're in place yet.
So in the agreement with the dam owner, who is responsible for maintenance of the siphon? So who's at risk if anything goes wrong?
So I think we'll be in charge of the maintenance. So we debated initially, do we try and build an outlet structure into the dam? And the siphon is, Water Resources worked with us on engineering, and the siphon's going to really reduce the maintenance. It's essentially, there's just going to be a pump that we have to maintain. Okay. So the maintenance should be really minimal. And we have a good relationship with the water users there. And I don't foresee maintenance being a big issue. And it's really, it's a big project, expensive, but it's a pretty simple, it's just a pipe and a pump to prime it. That's kind of there's not a lot to it. So we don't anticipate major issues.
I really appreciate these novel solutions to a growing problem that we have, you know, in the state. The one question that keeps in the back of my mind is when we probably most need the water to be moved out of the lake is where it is in highest competition with the irrigation season. Has that been a discussion with the irrigators, and is there any conflict there?
So I mean, I think when we want the water removed should line up with when the irrigators want it as well. So yeah, I don't.
So there's no conflict there?
Not that yeah. We were a little bit concerned how they would feel about it, but they don't. Yeah, they haven't had any concerns. They really, I mean, they're all local people that use the lake, and everybody wants to get rid of the harmful algal blooms, so everyone's really supportive of doing whatever they can to get rid of them.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah. Blake?
Yeah, so I'm having some deja vu. Did we see this project last year, and if so, what was done?
I'm trying to remember. I think last year I don't think we presented it. I think there was an initial push where we're like, if we want to do this, initially we were thinking we were going to build it into the dam, and so we got to get this done now so we can incorporate it into the dam. Like I said, the dam's being constructed; it's almost finished, but we came up with this siphon alternative that means we can put the siphon in after the dam's complete. So,
okay.
So I think we created the project, but we pulled it right before this meeting is my memory.
All right. Yeah, I swear I remember it being presented last year.
Yeah, the different solutions have been discussed ever since the crack in the dam, and I think this is a good outcome where we're
okay.
at.
So nothing was done with funding from last year?
No, yeah, it wasn't funded. It was pulled before it was ever funded last year. And a few years ago, there was actually a kind of a similar project looking for engineering. It was a project just to do engineering, but not the actual implementation. Thank you. Yeah.
Got a question?
Yeah, Laren.
So with these agreements with the irrigators, on a year like this are they gonna be able to draw the lake down lower than?
No, so that's been a big concern, obviously, and yeah, that's all everything's gonna be measured and agreements. Yeah, because that is a big concern, and yeah, they won't be able, and the way the siphon sits, they won't be able to draw it below the natural lake level. And they haven't indicated any interest in doing that either. They're totally fine with, yeah. I think they technically have some water rights where they could, but they don't have an interest in that.
Other questions or comments on this one? It's been many years coming. Go ahead.
So when I read about this, I was fascinated with that.
Pass the mic back to him, please.
Am I too quiet? Okay. When I read about this, I was fascinated with that type of solution, but I'm curious, since it's not a closed circuit system, are there water quality concerns for what you're pumping out downstream of the lake?
Yeah, so that is a concern. In some ways, it's good. The water there that'll be pumped out will be colder, which can be good downstream. Obviously, it'll be very nutrient rich, which is an issue. A lot of it's used for irrigation, like I mentioned, which the nutrient rich issue isn't much of a concern or maybe even a benefit for that aspect of it. But yeah, and Paul did some work on this. Yeah, Paul, go ahead. Yeah.
You pass that mic back. Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Burnett. I'm the Non-Point Source Program Coordinator for the Utah Division of Water Quality. And I actually formerly was on the Habitat Council in the southern region, came to us with this proposal back then, like, I don't know, 6 years ago. And I will say that the southern region's done their homework on this project. So I think this is going to be a solid project. Speaking to the water quality, the siphon will be pulling anywhere from 15 to 30% of the entire flow, the delivery flow that the irrigation company is going to take. So it's not going to be like, we won't be pulling only hypolimnetic water out. It'll be a mix. And so based on some of the analysis I did, that'll reduce the temperature in the stream below by about 2 degrees during the summer, which is actually beneficial because it does exceed 20 degrees in the summer, which can impact trout. There is a concern about additional nutrients downstream, and we've got a monitoring program that we're going to implement starting this year, looking at measuring nutrients, looking at temperature and some other water quality parameters. So,
Thanks for that, Paul. That's great to have you here with us today. He's our former DWR mole that's part of DEQ now. So. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Thanks, Nick. You got the next one too?
I think so.
Yeah, so that's 7924 Southern Region Fish Barrier Construction and Maintenance. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a project kind of incorporating a few different barriers. So it's 2 new barriers and then maintenance on some old barriers. Maybe if you could go to the, images is probably good. So that first image, the top one, so if you'd kind of linger on that one for a minute. So the 2 new barriers would be barriers that would be on Pine Creek. This is right outside the town of Escalante, Utah. So Pine Creek is a stream that we did cutthroat restoration on years ago, probably 25 or so years ago, but we were only able to do it on the very upstream portion of the stream. It then entered a wilderness area where we couldn't use rotenone and convert the population to native Colorado River cutthroat trout. But we've recently got approval to treat that section of stream, which will give us 12 additional miles of Colorado River cutthroat in Pine Creek. But to do that, we need to construct barriers. There's brown trout in the stream, and they have historically and would, again, just outcompete the cutthroat if they were allowed to remain there. So the plan would be to construct these barriers, do a rotenone treatment that removes all fish, and then reintroduce the Colorados, and the brown trout would be kept out by the barriers. It's a really hard system to build a barrier in, but we got really lucky. We found 2 sections, kind of bedrock seams that we can utilize. So the guy in that picture is about 6 feet tall. So essentially our plan is on these 2 bedrock seams to come in, use a hammer attachment on an excavator, and essentially just hammer out a waterfall, so a physical vertical barrier that the fish can't jump over. And both these barrier spots fall luckily just on some private land where the private landowners, really great to work with, will let us build these barriers there, which is awesome because we have to get very little approval or permitting issues. The BLM section all around this private is a study area, and we met with BLM. We had a couple other spots in mind, and it was just going to be a nightmare to try and get approval to do the barriers on this study area of BLM. So we're really lucky that the barriers could be built on private. So that's the biggest part of the project, are these 2 new barriers. And then this concept of barriers preventing reinvasion from rainbow or brook trout or brown trout, it's a really common concept, and we've done that a lot of other places. So another part of this project is just doing maintenance on old barriers. Some of these older barriers are getting to be 30 plus years old, so we just need to go in. Maybe if you start going through the pictures. So just like we put concrete pads on a lot of the barriers to prevent pools where the fish could jump over the barriers. So you can see it's kind of eroding behind that concrete pad. So we want to go in and put some big boulders to shore that up. So just kind of little maintenance like that on some different older barriers. I think those would all be on Clear Creek, which is a blue ribbon stream, a little stream outside of Beaver, North Creek, and then a little tributary to the East Fork of the Sevier River. So just some maintenance on some other barriers that are starting to fail. So that's basically the project. Maybe if you could go to finances. So we looked at a couple other sources so basically the way we would do the project, it's most of the money would be used to hire our heavy equipment crew, and they would do the bulk of the work. So that's what the costs are, and the way we're proposing to fund it is essentially half through Habitat Council, half through Blue Ribbon. We applied for a grant with the Upper Colorado River Basin. They had some grants we applied for, but unfortunately we didn't get them. So we ended up splitting it between Habitat Council and Blue Ribbon, so $22,000 each.
Okay, comments or questions on this one?
Yeah, Drew.
I like the project. I'm just curious, and this is probably more for Trina. Western native trout, would this be eligible and considered?
We are because they changed the cycle, we're kind of a long ways from hearing projects. I guess, for that. But I think that it could be, but it wouldn't line up with, like, so we're like right in the middle of splitting, right? So it used to be we would review things 2 years ahead of time, so now we're going back to 1 year ahead of time. So we're in that middle in between time where this wasn't on the radar back when we did the current or the upcoming fiscal year. And so then we're out. It just doesn't line up, I guess, unless we delay the project.
So, yeah, so basically, by the time we got approval from the Forest Service to use the route known in the wilderness area, got approval from the landowner. By the time this project all came together, we just missed that window. So potentially you could delay this one.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just making sure that we swept the corners. The other one was the cut slam funds. I take it we don't have any there that could help this project either?
I guess we didn't review this one, but we already identified the cutthroat slam projects for this year. So it could be for next year if you got any work next year.
All right.
We talked about cut slam. We had a couple other kind of smaller projects that we ended up asking for cut slam money from, and if we would have included this.
Nick is very good at asking for cutthroat slam.
Yeah, no.
No, I from a Habitat Council standpoint, I really appreciate, really, like you said, sweeping the corners and looking at all the funding sources. I think we're good with where we're at. And so, but other comments or questions? Okay. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. So that brings us to
Eric, can I ask one probably question for either Nick or Paul Burnett? And it probably has no bearing on the project, but does Panguitch Creek or anywhere downstream of this project have a TMDL that we should be concerned about?
Panguitch Lake has a TMDL, and I can't remember what it's for. But my colleague Lucy Parham is also on the Google Meet. She could probably speak to that. But it does have a TMDL. We have been dealing with nutrient issues in the lake for at least since the 80s. And so that's the reason why we can bring 319 money into the project. Does that answer your question?
It does. I just my only concern would be, someone who has some point source downstream has a TMDL limit on them. Will this impact their ability to do their job? Does that make sense, Paul?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Lucy, do you have anything to add? She may have jumped.
No, I don't. The TMDL is for phosphorus, but there will be no impacts to permittees from this project.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Lucy, on that.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Drew. Okay, that's going to conclude our morning session. We're going to break for lunch here in a minute. Logistics moving forward. In a few minutes, lunch will be over. There's a room down the hall here where lunch you'll get, and you can bring it back here. After lunch, we'll be breaking at 11:30. We'll probably do lunch till, I'm thinking, 12:15.
I don't think lunch is coming till 11:45. We can give till 12:30.
Right. Yeah. So we'll go till 12:30 for lunch. But after lunch, Blue Ribbon folks will stay here, and for the Google stream, you'll stay on this same channel for the Google stream for Blue Ribbon for this afternoon. Habitat Council will move up to the Division of Wildlife Room 2000, and there's a separate stream link for that part of that meeting. And so this information is more for the people online. But so there's a separate stream that's available. Text or message Allison if you don't have that. It's in the calendar invite if you have access to that. Allison, anything else I missed on that?
I was just going to say we might need to go a little past, might have to have a little bit longer lunch because food's not here yet, and so that will kind of determine.
Yeah, I understand it's in transit and will be here just momentarily. So, but yeah, we'll shoot for 12:30, but it could end up going a little bit longer if we need to, and that'll be fine. And we'll let the AV team know at that point. So, okay, any questions before we break for lunch? All right, we're out till approximately 12:30 to 12:40 potentially. So, thanks everyone.